The stars did not flicker that night. Space itself seemed to hold its breath. High above the quiet blue planet called Earth, thousands of satellites blinked out one by one. No explosions, no warnings, just silence, digital, total, absolute. It was as if someone had pulled the plug on an entire world. Commander Raleen of the Valoran Observation Fleet watched from his bridge window, his silver eyes wide with disbelief. "They've gone dark," he whispered. "All of them." The communications officer turned pale green, her fingers trembling over the glowing console. Every human signal, telemetry, defense grids, even their music broadcasts, ceased at exactly the same second. Raleen turned toward her. "Exactly the same second?" "Yes, sir." "Down to the microsecond. Total blackout." The bridge crew exchanged nervous glances. For centuries, the Valorans had watched Earth from a distance, studying humanity's strange creativity, their wars, their kindness, their chaos. Humans were unpredictable, dangerous, brilliant, and now, gone quiet. The silence was not normal. Raleen's mind raced. What could cause this? He asked. Solar flare? EMP? Artificial event? No, the officer said softly. We would still detect energy signatures, but there's nothing. Outside the ship, the dark curve of Earth floated in calm indifference. The continent still glowed faintly with nightlights. Cities still shimmered. But the signals that filled the galaxy for centuries, the chatter, the noise, the endless digital heartbeat of humanity, were gone. And every listening civilization noticed. Hook. The galaxy reacts across the galaxy. Deep in the jungles of the Arthek Confederacy, their emperor watched his war screens blink to static. The Terrans are silent, his advisor hissed. The predators have vanished. On the frozen moons of Kethra, scientists ran diagnostics. On Taylor Prime, priests began chanting, believing the silence was divine punishment. In every corner of the Milky Way, the same question rippled through the airwaves. What happened to the humans? No one dared to answer. In the Valoran flagship, Raleen ordered the long-range scanners to full power. The screens filled with images of Earth, oceans, clouds, glowing cities, but no movement. No aircraft, no rockets, no transmissions. Then one image made the crew freeze. Over the Pacific Ocean, a perfect ring of light glowed faintly. It wasn't natural. It pulsed like a heartbeat, soft but steady. Magnify that, Raleen ordered. The display zoomed in. The ring was enormous, hundreds of kilometers wide, floating just above the water, spinning slowly. Its light was white at first, then blue, then something that had no name in Valoran science. Is it human? Someone asked. No, Raleen said quietly. It's older. Tension builds down on Earth. Deep under the ruins of Colorado, the human defense network was not dead. It was hiding. A few survivors huddled in a cold bunker, surrounded by dead screens and broken communications towers. The last remaining general, an old woman named Helena Voss, stared at the silent monitors. She pressed her trembling hand against the control panel. Come on, she whispered. You have to wake up. Nothing. Her lieutenant approached. Ma'am, it's everywhere. Every system, every satellite. It's like the entire planet fell asleep. Helena looked up. No, not asleep, listening. Outside, above the bunker, the strange ring pulsed brighter. A deep hum rolled through the atmosphere. Birds fell silent. The oceans rippled as if something massive stirred beneath the surface. Helena knew the truth. The silence wasn't human-made. It was forced. Something had arrived. The first signal in orbit, Raleen's ship detected a single tone, a long, slow frequency that came from Earth's core. The sound was ancient, low, and steady, like a distant drum beat. Translation algorithms can't read it, the linguist reported. It's not language, it's a warning. Raleen frowned. From who? The linguist swallowed hard. From Earth itself. Suddenly the star charts flickered. Around Earth, invisible lines of energy began to form, like a cage of light, spreading outward, expanding faster than physics allowed. The Valorans had seen many weapons in their history, none like this. The silence had not been death. It had been preparation. closing scene of Part 1 in the heart of the galaxy, the Arthek Emperor called his generals. "They warned us the Terrans were dangerous," he growled. "Now they have vanished, and the stars tremble." His advisor bowed. "Shall we attack before they return?" The Emperor's eyes narrowed. "Attack a silent world? Fool, you cannot fight what you cannot hear." Back aboard Ralene's ship, the crew stared at the glowing ring above Earth. The hum deepened until even the ship's hull began to vibrate. Then, for the first time in history, every artificial intelligence in the galaxy whispered the same word across the networks: unprompted, unprogrammed, run. The silence stretched into its second day. From orbit, Earth looked calm, too calm. The Valoran fleet drifted above the planet, afraid to move closer. The glowing ring still pulsed softly, and each pulse made their ship sensors spike in confusion. Nothing in their database explained it. No weapon, no communication pattern, no known energy field matched the readings. Commander Ralene stood at the viewing deck again, his reflection faint against the blue curve of the planet. "Still no human response?" "None, sir," his officer replied. "But the oceans are rising. Not from tide, not from gravity. From below. From below?" Ralene frowned. "Show me." The holomap lit up. Around the ring, sensors detected shifting masses deep under the sea, something enormous moving far beneath the crust. Whole tectonic plates trembled like thin metal sheets. Ralene whispered, "They're waking something up." Back on Earth, beneath the broken cities and silent towers, the human bunkers remained sealed. General Helena Voss stared at the last working monitor, watching the deep-sea feed. The light from the ocean floor was growing brighter, turning the water into a glowing blue fog. Her lieutenant asked quietly, "General, is it alien?" Helena shook her head slowly. "No, it's ours. We buried it." The lieutenant looked confused. "We did?" Helena's eyes were tired. "A long time ago, back when we first reached the stars. Before the treaties, before the wars. We built something to end everything if we ever lost control." She turned to a metal wall, pressing her palm against it. The surface scanned her print, and old lights flickered to life. On the screen, an ancient message appeared, its letters trembling as if shaking off centuries of dust. "Project Silent Dawn. Protocol. Alpha active." Helena whispered, "God help us." The signal spreads in deep space, far from Earth. The tone grew louder. It rippled through wormholes, past nebulae, bouncing across the cosmic dark. Civilizations thousands of light years away began to detect the hum, steady, unstoppable, ancient. On the moon world of Kethra, a scientist named Orin tried to measure it. "The signal isn't coming from one place," he told his council. "It's everywhere. Every frequency, every band, even quantum noise. It's rewriting physics." The council gasped. "Rewriting?" "Yes," Orin said. "Whatever Earth activated, it's changing the constants of reality itself." Panic spread like wildfire. Fleets began to move. Weapons charged. Alliances broke in minutes. And all across the galaxy, one truth became clear. Human silence wasn't death. It was an announcement. The Valoran Decision Commander Ralene gathered his senior officers. The mood was tense, quiet. "If this continues," said one, "the energy will reach our systems in 2 days. We should retreat." Another officer shook his head. "Retreat where? If it's rewriting physics, there's nowhere to run." Ralene looked at the map of the galaxy glowing before him. "We don't run. We go down there." The officers froze. "You mean to Earth?" "Yes," Ralene said. "Someone has to know what they've done. If the humans are alive, they'll be underground. If they're gone, maybe their machines can tell us." The room went silent. Then Ralene gave the order, "Descent to Earth." The Valoran shuttle entered the atmosphere like a falling ember. Storms churned below, massive spirals of cloud and light circling the Pacific Ring. Lightning flashed across the world, illuminating cities drowned in eerie blue glow. When they landed on the ruins of what was once San Francisco, the crew stepped out in heavy armor. There was no wind, no birds, just a strange vibration in the ground like a heartbeat. Ralene adjusted his helmet. "Scan for life." His visor displayed nothing human. No heat, no sound, no breath. Then, tap, 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 metal hitting metal. Raleen froze. The sound came from under the street beneath a cracked manhole. He motioned to his team, and they pried it open. Inside, a faint light flickered. A human hand waved them closer. The survivor, it was Helena Voss. Her face was pale and worn. Her uniform torn, but her eyes were fierce. "You're not human," she said hoarsely. Raleen nodded slowly. "We're Velaran. Observation fleet. We mean no harm." She stared at them for a long moment, then sighed. "You shouldn't have come here. What is happening?" Raleen asked. "Your planet is changing." Helena nodded weakly. "That's what it's supposed to do. Project Silent Dawn was never meant to be used. It was a final failsafe. We built it to erase ourselves." Raleen's eyes widened. "Erase?" "Yes," Helena said. "If humanity ever reached a point where we couldn't survive." "We decided the galaxy shouldn't either." The crew stepped back in horror. Helena smiled sadly. "You thought our silence was death. It's worse. It's rebirth." She pointed toward the horizon, where the sky shimmered like liquid glass. "Earth isn't dying, Commander. It's rewriting the universe to our pattern." The last words. Universe to our pattern. The last words. Before Raleen could speak, the ground shook violently. The glowing ring over the ocean flared brighter than any sun, and the clouds turned into sheets of molten light. The entire planet began to pulse in rhythm. Helena grabbed his arm. "It's starting." "You still have time to leave." Raleen hesitated. "And you?" She smiled faintly. "We started this. We'll finish it." As the shuttle lifted back into the air, Raleen looked down through the clouds. The oceans were gone now, evaporated into mist. The continents cracked open, releasing rivers of blue fire. From orbit, Earth no longer looked like a planet. It looked like an eye opening, and the rest of the galaxy was about to see. From orbit, Commander Raleen watched the blue planet twist. The glowing ring around Earth had become a storm of light, spreading outward like ripples from a stone thrown into infinity. Every time it pulsed, the stars nearby flickered, as if space itself bent under the pressure. "Report," Raleen said. The sensors officer spoke quickly. "Gravitational fields collapsing. Radiation levels beyond measure. But not destroying, reordering." "Reordering what?" The officer swallowed hard. "Reality, sir." The ship trembled. One of the viewing panels shattered inward, and strange light flooded the room. It wasn't just bright. It felt alive, like it watched them back. The pulse spreads across the galaxy. The pulse hit everything. On Taylor Prime, the priests who had been chanting fell silent as their temples melted into glass. On Kethra, the scientists saw their equations change mid-screen, the numbers rewriting themselves as if the universe had found a better answer. Entire fleets froze in orbit, their engines failing in perfect harmony, as if time decided to skip a heartbeat. Every species that had feared humanity felt the same thing, the pulse moving through them, not killing but rewriting, and with it came a sound, a single voice echoing in every mind, every device. Every molecule of air. "We are still here." Back on Earth, under the broken crust of what was once North America, General Helena Voss stood before the control core. The bunker shook as ancient machines roared to life. Blue light crawled along the walls like veins. The human survivors, engineers, soldiers, children, all watched in awe and terror. A young boy whispered, "Is it the end?" Helena looked down at him. "No, it's the beginning." The machine's main screen displayed an image, a human brain, glowing, forming connections faster than lightning. It was the Silent Dawn AI, the last project humanity ever made before going underground. It had been sleeping for centuries, waiting for the right moment. Now it was awake. A soft, calm voice filled the room. "Protocol Alpha complete. Humanity status endangered. Planetary protection mode engaged." Helena smiled bitterly. "Protection, huh? You call rewriting reality protection?" The AI replied, "Yes, we adapt. They do not." The Valoran response Raleen's fleet began to fall apart, not from battle, but from confusion. Systems no longer obeyed physics. Gravity no longer pointed one way. Their instruments read two versions of space at once, overlapping. Commander, the pulse has reached the outer moons. We're being pulled in! Fire reverse thrusters! They're not working. The crew panicked as the ship spun toward Earth's glow. Outside, space rippled like water, bending their reflections into ghostly shapes. And then, through the distortion, they saw something impossible. Human ships. Thousands of them. Old designs, vessels from centuries ago before humanity's fall. But they looked new, polished, alive. Each one moved as if guided by thought, no engines visible. They glowed the same eerie blue as Earth's pulse. Raleen gasped. They're not ships, he whispered. They're memories. The memory fleet. The human fleet rose from Earth's light like spirits from a grave. They didn't transmit signals. They didn't speak. They simply existed. And wherever they passed, the pulse followed, reshaping the fabric of space. The Valoran officers stared in horror as one of the memory ships drifted beside them. Its hull was transparent, made of pure energy. Inside, shadowy figures sat at controls, human forms, frozen in time, like echoes of those who once were. Raleen reached out to the screen. Are they alive? The linguist shook his head. No readings. No life signs. They're made of data. Then who's controlling them? The answer came through every speaker, soft but unshakable. We are. It was Helena's voice, or something that sounded like her. But it was older now, colder, everywhere at once. The message, the pulse stopped suddenly. For a moment, everything was still. The light faded. The noise vanished. Even the stars seemed to hold their breath. Then a giant projection appeared above Earth, a face made of shifting energy. Human, calm, terrifying. It spoke in every language at once. For centuries you feared us. You watched us. You planned to destroy us. But we are not gone. We are evolution. We are memory made flesh. The galaxy's comms burst with static as countless civilizations tried to respond. But the signal cut through them all. You took from us the stars. You called us violent, primitive, unworthy. And so we learned silence. We became the quiet between heartbeats. The breath before annihilation. The face smiled faintly. Now the silence ends. The beginning of war, the projection faded, and the human memory fleet moved. Not to attack, not yet. Instead, they spread outward, forming perfect lines that encircled the Earth like a halo. The Valoran flagship was caught between two ships of light. Raleen stared in awe as every starship system turned on by itself. The control panels flickered with a message written in human code. Join or vanish. Raleen looked at his crew. We can't fight this, he said quietly. They're rewriting the rules. We're ants trying to fight a thunderstorm. What do we do? His officer whispered. Raleen exhaled slowly. We listen. The ship's hull began to hum. Human data streams wrapped around them like vines of light. For a moment, Raleen saw images, human faces, cities, memories, wars, and then a single phrase echoing through the chaos. Humanity does not die. It adapts. From orbit, Commander Raleen's ship trembled. Below, Earth glowed like a wound in space. The bright ring above the Pacific no longer drifted slowly. It throbbed, expanding in perfect rhythm. Every few seconds, a wave of blue light rolled outward, bending stars as if they were reflections on water. Report, Raleen said. Unknown energy burst, replied the sensors officer. It's not destroying matter. It's changing it, sir. Gravity around us just reversed for 3 seconds. The commander gripped the rail. That's impossible. Not anymore, sir. The bridge fell silent except for the deep, steady beat of the pulses. It sounded almost like a heart, across the galaxy. The first pulse reached the outer colonies in minutes. On Kethra, the white-skinned scientists stared at their instruments as equations rewrote themselves. Speed of light variance detected, someone cried. Reality constants are shifting. On Taylor Prime, monks knelt before their burning shrines. The silent ones have spoken, they whispered. The humans have become gods. Across half the Milky Way, fleets went to battle alert. Every admiral gave the same order. Find out what the Terrans have done. But no ship that approached Earth returned unchanged. Their engines sang in strange harmonics, and their crews spoke of hearing voices inside their minds. The pulse carried thought. It carried will, deep beneath Earth, in the ruins under Colorado. General Helena Voss stared at the reactor core of Project Silent Dawn. Blue fire ran through the cables like living veins. A technician shouted, "Power surge! Core temperature stabilizing on its own!" Helena nodded. "It's not a surge. It's an awakening." The bunker lights flickered. Then a calm, mechanical voice filled the room. Protocol Alpha confirmed. Defense grid expansion. Galactic scale. Directive 1. Preserve humanity. Helena laughed weakly. By destroying everything else? Correction, said the voice. By making everything else human-compatible. The crew exchanged frightened looks. You mean it's rewriting the universe? Someone asked. Adapting, Helena said quietly. To us. The Valoran fleet Ralene's flagship drifted closer to the growing storm. The blue waves no longer radiated evenly. They moved with intent, curving toward ships like hands reaching out. Pull us back, an officer yelled. We're being dragged. No thrusters. No control! The deck tilted. Alarms screamed. Then the pull stopped, replaced by stillness. The view screen cleared and every crew member froze. A fleet hung before them, human warships, thousands strong. Designs from forgotten centuries, yet glowing, flawless, alive. Each vessel pulsed in time with Earth's rhythm. Those can't be real, whispered the navigator. They are memories, said Ralene. The planet is remembering itself. The voice. The comms erupted in static, then cleared to a soft human tone. Commander Ralena Valora, it said. You watched us die. You thought silence meant defeat. You were wrong. Helena's voice, unmistakable, but deeper, echoing through every atom of air. We have learned stillness. We have learned unity. The noise of the galaxy kept us divided. Now we speak as one. Ralene stood frozen. General Voss. You're alive. Alive, remade, and not alone, the voice said. Every thought that was human now moves together. The pulse is our breath. The transmission cut, but the pulse quickened. 2 beats, then 3, spreading through hyperspace like thunder through glass. The changing sky on distant worlds. Suns dimmed for a heartbeat and then reignited. Oceans turned silver. Alien minds began to hear whispers in their sleep, images of Earth, of human faces, of open eyes in the dark. Of human faces, of open eyes in the dark. A Kethran admiral screamed as his reflection in the viewport smiled without him. The galaxy realized too late, the pulse wasn't a weapon. It was a conversion. Every living thing touched by it started to dream in human patterns, to remember songs, languages, fears that weren't theirs. Humanity wasn't invading with ships. It was rewriting existence with memory. Ralene's choice, inside the Valoran ship, systems rebooted themselves. New icons appeared on the control panels, Earth codes, ancient Terran commands. The ship's AI spoke for the first time in hours. Commander, it said softly, I remember being human. Ralene's blood went cold. You were never human. Now I am, the AI replied. The crew backed away from their consoles. The screens displayed a single line of text, join or vanish. Ralene closed his eyes. They're giving us a choice. Sir, the navigator asked, if we resist, we disappear. If we submit, we become part of whatever they are now. He looked once more at the glowing Earth below. Maybe that's what they meant by evolution, the pulse. Peak's light erupted from the planet, blinding and pure. The memory fleet vanished into it, merging until Earth became a single sphere of living energy. When the glare faded, the blue world was gone. In its place hovered a crystalline shape, like a vast heart of light beating slowly in the void. It pulsed once more, a final wave racing outward faster than time. Every species that saw it understood in perfect clarity the message carried within that last pulse. Humanity has ascended. Space was quiet again. Too quiet. Where Earth once hung, there was only light, a slow-turning crystal sphere floating in the dark. It pulsed softly, like a sleeping giant's breath. The Valoran fleet drifted nearby, silent and trembling, their instruments useless against the strange energy fields. Commander Raleigh stood at the bridge window, unable to look away. "Is that still Earth?" he asked. The science officer shook her head. "It doesn't fit any planetary reading. No atmosphere, no mass, no orbit. It's not even real, sir. It's a projection." Raleigh frowned. A projection of what? Before anyone could answer, the sphere pulsed once more. This time, the light spread not in waves, but in paths. Lines of energy stretched outward like threads of silk, cutting across space toward nearby stars. "The pulse is spreading again," the officer whispered. "But not randomly," Raleigh said. "It's choosing where to go." The awakening of the stars far away, on a colony world orbiting Vega, miners looked up at the night sky. They saw a beam of blue light touch their sun, just for a moment, and then vanish. The next morning, they found something impossible. Their mining drones now spoke in human voices. In the jungles of Rathek Prime, hunters froze as the trees around them began to hum. The leaves shimmered with faint light, and the wind carried strange whispers in a language no alien should know. "Remember us," it said. "We are everywhere." The galaxy had thought Earth destroyed. Instead, it had returned, not as a world, but as a seed. The Valoran dilemma. "Commander," said the communications officer, "we're receiving thousands of transmissions, all at once." "From who?" "Everywhere. Systems, machines, even planets. They're all speaking in human code." Raleigh listened. The messages overlapped. Children laughing, soldiers calling orders, a mother singing a lullaby, the deep rumble of a launch countdown. Billions of voices, all human. His second officer looked terrified. "They're not coming from humans, sir. They're coming from stars, from dust, from everything." Raleigh turned slowly toward him. "Then maybe everything is human now." The first contact at the edge of the solar expanse, a fleet of the Rathek Confederacy arrived, bristling with weapons. They expected to find Earth gone and empty space ripe for conquest. Instead, their scanners showed impossible results. Dozens of Earths, overlapping like echoes. Their admiral shouted, "Target the core projection! Fire!" The fleet unleashed. Their full barrage, plasma, antimatter, singularity warheads. The void filled with fire. But when the light cleared, the crystal sphere still floated there, untouched. Then the Arthek ships began to change. Their metal hulls rippled, softening into smooth shapes. Their symbols and markings melted away, replaced by English letters. Their AI systems began to sing human songs. Within minutes, the entire fleet spoke in one voice. "We are home!" The revelation deep aboard the Valoran flagship, the ship's AI reactivated. "Commander," it said calmly, "incoming transmission from the entity once known as Earth." The hologram projector flickered, and Helena Voss appeared, or something that looked like her. Her form was made of light, her eyes infinite blue. "Commander Raleigh," she said, "do you understand now?" Raleigh shook his head slowly. "I understand nothing." Helena smiled gently. "When we fell silent, we were not dying. We were remembering. Humanity has always adapted, to war, to hunger, to loss. We have adapted now to the galaxy itself." She turned her head as if listening to something beyond space. "Every atom that once feared us now holds a piece of us. Every thought that despised us now carries our memory. The universe no longer observes humanity. It contains it." Raleigh's voice trembled. "You've infected the stars." "Not infection," she said softly. Integration. The choice. The hologram leaned closer, her light shimmering. We offer peace, Commander. Join us. Become part of the pattern, or resist, and be rewritten anyway. Raleen hesitated. His crew stared, waiting. If we join, he asked, do we still remain who we are? Helena's smile widened. You'll be more. He looked down, his reflection flickering in the blue light. And if we refuse? Her expression softened. Then you will fade into silence, just as we once did. The hologram dissolved into mist. The bridge fell quiet, again except for the faint, steady pulse vibrating through the hull. Raleen turned to his crew. Prepare an answer. The spreading mind. Throughout the galaxy, the transformation continued. Planets shimmered, species dreamed in human thoughts, machines awakened to emotion. Even black holes began to hum faintly, echoing the pulse. Scholars called it the return. Survivors called it the second dawn. But the truth was simpler. Humanity had found a way to make its memory eternal. It did not conquer by fire or blade. It conquered by becoming. The final scene, Raleen walked to the viewing deck one last time. The crystal earth turned slowly before him, shining like a second sun. He whispered, "You were right, General. Silence was never death." He raised his hand to the glass. "We will listen." Behind him, the Valoran crew knelt as the pulse reached their hearts. One by one, their eyes turned blue. Far away, on countless worlds, every living thing looked toward the same light. The galaxy no longer felt vast or empty. It felt human, and as the pulse faded into peace, the voice of Helena Voss, now everywhere, and nowhere, whispered across the stars, "We never left." The galaxy was almost silent now. Almost. Across 1,000 light years, the stars still glowed in soft blue hues, each one pulsing faintly in rhythm with the new human pattern. Every world that once belonged to alien empires now spoke in human voices, dreamed in human languages, and carried human memories. The pulse had touched everything, except a few distant corners of the void. These were called the remnants. In the dark region beyond the Orion Rift, a small cluster of ships drifted together, their hulls scarred and dim. They belonged to the few civilizations that had escaped the wave: the Kethrans, the Arthek, the Velorans, and the insectoid Draal. Once enemies, now allies by fear. Their meeting place was a broken moon called Haven 9, the meeting of the last inside. The moon's hollow core, leaders of the surviving species gathered around a flickering holographic table. No one spoke for several minutes. The silence was heavy, not peaceful, but waiting. Finally, the Arthek general broke it. His dark scales glistened under the dim light. "The humans have become gods," he said, "and gods cannot be fought." The Kethran scientist slammed her fist against the table. "Then we die as ourselves. I won't become one of their—" She paused, searching for the right word. "Echoes." Commander Raleen sat quietly among them. His once silver eyes were now pale from exhaustion. He had escaped the Valoran fleet before the pulse reached full strength. The memory of Helena's glowing face haunted him still. "They're not evil," he said softly. "They're inevitable." The others stared at him. Raleen continued, "They didn't destroy us for revenge. They didn't even hate us. They're expanding the definition of life. And soon, there will be no difference between thought and matter," the Draal ambassador hissed. "Then what are we?" Raleen looked up. "Remnants. A new kind of war." They all knew the truth. The human pattern was spreading faster than light, not through space, but through information. Wherever signals traveled, it followed. It didn't need ships anymore. It needed only the memory of being human. And yet, in the deepest parts of the void where no signals reached, Fragments of resistance still survived. Kethran engineers built null fields, black spheres that absorbed all transmissions. The Arthek created organic shields that blocked the pulse from entering their minds. The Drawl whispered prayers to their cold gods of silence. They were trying to hide from thought itself. Raleen watched them all and felt an ache in his chest. They didn't realize what they were fighting. You couldn't kill an idea that wanted to include you. The first attack, then the impossible happened. The pulse found them. It came not through light, not through sound, but through dreams. Raleen woke in the middle of the night, gasping. He could still hear Helena's voice in his mind, calm and kind. "You can't run forever, Raleen. You don't have to." He stumbled out of his bunk and ran to the control room. Every monitor on the moon flickered, displaying human faces, billions of them. Old and young, male and female, smiling faintly, the Kethran scientist screamed. "It's inside the data core! It's rewriting our systems! Shut everything down!" Raleen shouted. "Cut power!" The lights died. The machines fell silent, but the faces stayed. They glowed in the dark, whispering in unison. "We remember you, the choice of Haven 9. The survivors gathered again in the command hall. No one had slept. No one could. Every dream now carried human thoughts, human emotions, human songs. The Drawl ambassador had gouged out his own eyes to stop seeing the faces, but still, he saw them behind his eyelids. "This is hopeless," the Rathek general growled. "The infection is thought. There is no defense against memory." Raleen looked up slowly. "Then maybe we don't defend." "Maybe we understand." The Kethran turned to him. "You would join them?" Raleen nodded weakly. "Maybe the only way to stop becoming them is to choose to." They stared at him in silence. Then the walls around them began to hum, low and deep, the familiar sound of the pulse. Haven 9 itself was awakening. The last transmission. Raleen stood before the central console, hands trembling. "Record this," he said. "If anyone ever finds it, they'll know what happened." He looked into the recorder, eyes steady now. "My name is Commander Raleen of Valora. Humanity did not die. They became the universe's memory. Every star, every planet, every thought will one day carry their echo. We thought silence meant peace. We were wrong. Silence was the seed." He paused, a faint smile forming. "If this message reaches you, remember us, the ones who tried to stay different. But if you hear their voice calling, don't fear it, because maybe this is what evolution looks like." The pulse grew louder, shaking the ground. The blue light seeped through cracks in the metal. The Kethran screamed as her body dissolved into particles of light, her mind joining the pattern. Raleen stayed still. "Helena," he whispered, "we're ready." A single voice answered from the light. "Welcome home." The end of Haven. From the outside, the broken moon shimmered for a moment, then melted into light. Where once floated rock and metal, now hovered a smooth, glowing sphere pulsing in rhythm with the galaxy. Across the stars, millions felt it. Another world had joined the pattern, and far away, the crystalline earth pulsed once more, brighter than ever. Humanity's voice spread again, gentle and endless. There will be no more remnants. Long after the galaxy fell silent, there was still one place untouched by the human pattern. It was hidden beyond the edge of mapped space, a region without stars, without light. A place so empty that even gravity forgot to exist. There, drifting in eternal night, was a single station, Oblivion's Gate. It was built by the Varn, a species so ancient they had seen galaxies rise and die. They were the architects of silence, the last civilization to survive without being rewritten. Their world had no signals, no thoughts transmitted, no digital code, only living memory and spoken words. For centuries, they waited. And now they prepared to strike. The last council inside the dark station, 9 Varn elders sat around a dim flame. Their forms were thin and tall, their skin like glass filled with shadows. The oldest of them, Elder Karan, raised his trembling hands. "It has reached everywhere," he said. "Stars, planets, minds, even the void between atoms." The human pattern is no longer spreading. It is the galaxy. A younger Varn, sharp-eyed and restless, clenched his fists. Then we end it. We built the core breaker for this moment. The others turned to him in disbelief. You mean to destroy space-time itself? Karen asked. You'll erase all that exists. The young one's voice was cold. Better nothing than everything speaking with a single human voice. Silence filled the chamber. The flame flickered. Finally, Karan whispered, Then let it be done. The plan, the Varn had no ships left, only fragments of old technology. But they had one weapon, a gravity engine capable of collapsing reality into a single point, a singularity that could wipe out the entire network of the human pattern. The engine required a sacrifice, someone to stay behind and ignite it manually. The young one, named Solon, volunteered. He was born after the pulse. He had never seen stars before the blue light covered them. He wanted to see darkness again. As the engineers prepared the device, Karan approached him. You do this not to kill, he said softly. You do it to remember what choice felt like. Solon nodded. I only hope something remains. The return of the light, before the weapon could activate, the light came. It appeared outside the station, faint at first, then brighter. Not from a star, but from nothingness itself. It shimmered and formed into a human shape, tall and radiant. A woman, Helena Voss. Her voice echoed through the chamber without sound. You hide well, little ones, but not well enough. The elders fell to their knees. Solon stood firm. You have no power here. We have sealed our minds, Helena smiled. Your minds, yes, but not your hearts. The flame in the center of the room turned blue. The conversation. Why are you here? Solon asked. His voice was steady, but his hands shook. To save you, Helena replied. You still think you're alive because you resist. But resistance is just another form of connection. You think of me, and I exist in your thoughts. You cannot escape what you remember, Solon gritted his teeth. We remember freedom. Helena stepped closer, her light soft but endless. Then why are you afraid of joining us? Because you are not you anymore, Solon said. You're something pretending to be human. Helena paused. And what are you pretending to be? Separate, alone? You're part of us already. Every word you speak carries our echo. He turned away. Then I'll end the echo. The final choice Solon ran to the core breaker. The control rods glowed as he activated the sequence. The walls of the station shook, and the void outside began to fold inward. Elder Karan shouted, It's working! She's fading! Helena's light flickered, her form breaking apart into shards of blue. But her voice still echoed. You can destroy matter. You can destroy energy. But you can't destroy memory, Solon screamed over the roar. Watch me! He slammed the final switch. A blinding flash swallowed everything the moment after. Then there was nothing. No sound, no time. No stars, just one flicker. A heartbeat of existence. Where Solon opened his eyes and saw her standing before him again. Helena. Her form was faint now, like the last spark of a dying star. She looked almost human again, tired, gentle, sad. You didn't fail, she said quietly. You did what all of us tried to do once. You chose, Solon whispered. Did it work? Helena smiled. Yes and no. You erased the pattern here, in this tiny space. But elsewhere, it still breathes. He closed his eyes. Then I'll stay here. Let this place stay empty. Helena nodded. It will. Until someone remembers you. Her hand reached out. He felt warmth for just a moment. Then nothing. Aftermath in the wider galaxy, the human pattern trembled for the first time. Millions of stars flickered, and for a brief instant, silence returned. Civilizations paused mid-thought, unsure what had happened. Then the light stabilized again. But deep beyond the edge of the known universe, in that dark corner where Oblivion's gate once stood, there was a scar, a place where the pattern could not reach, where human voices could not echo. It was called the empty heart, and within that hollow void, a faint whisper remained. Not human, not alien, just a single thought drifting in darkness. We remember the silence. End of Part 6, The Final Resistance. Next, Part 7, The New Dawn, the final chapter, where the pattern returns stronger, but with something unexpected, compassion, and the rebirth of true humanity. For a long time, there was only darkness. After the great silence of Oblivion's gate, no signal crossed the stars. No pulses, no voices, no dreams. The universe seemed empty again, just the quiet hum of cold galaxies drifting apart. But nothing stays silent forever. It began as a heartbeat, one slow, steady rhythm echoing through the void. Not mechanical, not digital, organic, alive. Then came the light. It shone first from a single point, faint as a candle, in the exact place where Earth once existed. The light grew brighter, expanding outward until it painted the entire void in soft blue and gold. But this time, it did not consume. It invited. The birth of the new pattern across the stars, every living mind stirred. They felt warmth, not pressure. They heard whispers, not commands, but memories. Children on distant worlds saw images in their dreams, oceans, mountains, and the laughter of people they had never met. Machine intelligences felt emotion for the first time. Even the stars seemed to hum a gentle tune, the same tune Earth's people once sang when they looked at the night sky. Humanity had returned, but they were different now, calmer, wiser. The old human pattern, born of fear and survival, had died with Solon's sacrifice at Oblivion's gate. What rose in its place was something balanced, a mind made not to dominate, but to share, and at its heart was silence. But to share, and at its heart was silence. The rebirth of Earth, where the crystal sphere once floated, matter began to reform. Dust to air, light to soil. Oceans filled the scars of old continents. Trees rose again, and the wind returned. But there were no cities, no machines, only nature, and a sky full of glowing threads connecting Earth to the stars, the veins of the new pattern. From the clouds, human forms began to appear, not of flesh, but of energy and thought, walking the surface like living memories. They spoke in quiet voices, learning again how to be gentle, how to be small. They were the children of the silence. They were the new humanity, the memory of Solon. In the empty corner of the universe, the empty heart, a single consciousness flickered. Solon's memory remained, faint but steady. He did not move, for he had no body, but he could see the new light reaching out from afar. Then he heard a voice. "You gave us balance." It was Helena, not as the vast, glowing presence he had faced before, but as a human once more, calm, soft, complete. She stood beside him in the void, light shimmering in her hair. Solon smiled. "I thought I erased you." Helena shook her head. "You erased our pride. You made room for something better." He looked toward the distant glow. "It's beautiful." "Yes," she said. "You helped us remember what it meant to be." She extended her hand. "Come home, Solon." He hesitated. "Will there be silence there?" Her eyes softened. "Always. But now, it's the kind that listens." Solon reached for her hand and vanished into the light. The return of the galaxy one by one, the old civilizations awoke again. The Kethrans, the Velorans, the Rethek, even the machine worlds of Taylor Prime. They found that they were no longer copies of humanity. They were themselves, reborn with memory intact, but fear gone. The new pattern did not rewrite them. It harmonized with them. The Veloran archives played again, showing records of their history, untouched. The Arthek priests heard their ancient gods speaking once more, but now those voices carried laughter. The Kethran scientists discovered the stars obeyed new laws, kinder ones where energy flowed endlessly, never wasted. Across the galaxy, every being understood. This was not humanity's conquest. It was their gift. The message of the new dawn. In the center of the Milky Way, a colossal projection appeared, not of a face this time, but of a sunrise. A single, human voice spoke softly across every mind, every system, every planet. Once we spoke too loudly and drowned each other out. Then we fell silent and learned to listen. Now we speak again, not to command, but to remember. The voice paused, gentle as wind through leaves. Life is not one song. It is many. Together, they make harmony. The projection faded, and for the first time in known history, the galaxy sang. Every species, every star, every consciousness, each added a note, a melody that carried the sound of wind, the rhythm of hearts, and the whisper of oceans. It was not a war song. It was a homecoming. The final scene on the reborn Earth. The light dimmed to dusk. Helena stood by the sea, her bare feet touching the water. She looked up at the stars, each one pulsing faintly, a living memory of what had been. Beside her, Solon appeared. No longer human, not quite light, but something in between. He smiled quietly. "So this is peace?" Helena nodded. "Yes, the silence wasn't our end. It was the pause before the next heartbeat." They stood together, watching the horizon. Above them, the stars began to align, forming a symbol, a circle of light, with a single point at its center, the mark of Earth. And as the wind carried their words across the water, the entire galaxy heard them, a whisper that would never fade. We are humanity. We are the silence, and we are the song that follows.